Please welcome to the stage Senior Manager, Accessibility at Cvent, Stephen Cutchins, and Principal Solutions Consultant at Cvent, Ron Justice.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cvent Connect. And we made it to Wednesday. Is everyone happy about that? Yeah. We are so excited to be able to speak with you all today about a topic that's near and dear, not only to Stephen and I, but obviously to all of you who are here today. My name is Ron Justice, and I'm a Principal Solutions Consultant. Some of you may have seen me or interacted with me on some of your customer demonstrations. And I am here joined by my friend, Stephen Cutchins.
Hi, I'm Stephen Cutchins. I'm our Senior Product Manager for Accessibility here at Cvent, affectionately apparently known as Blue Shirt Guy. You guys know anybody know sign language? That's Cvent and sign language, and that's Cvent and Braille.
Great. Well, we want to go through and obviously talk today about the importance of accessibility. Obviously, we want to also touch on a couple of things and making sure you're aware of how this topic that is at the top of everyone's fingertips, how this is going to be relatable within Cvent and doing the meetings and events that you're going to be hosting through our solution today. So I'll let Stephen touch a little bit more on just some of the differences between disability and accessibility, and then we'll kind of progress through our presentation.
Thank you. So, hi everybody. So, our talk is about digital accessibility. I first want to talk a little bit about disability, kind of what it is, give you some statistics around it so we understand kind of numbers of people impacted. So, disability refers to the physical, mental, sensory, or cognitive condition that may limit a person's movements, activities, things like attending events or being able to register on your site. Disability refers to the condition or the impairment experienced by that person. In other words, a disability prevents people from coming here. Accessibility, or specifically digital accessibility, refers to the products, the services, the environments, the facilities. Accessibility focuses on creating those environments or opportunities that can accommodate our attendees to come to our events. Let's take a quick poll. Do you guys have your phones out?
Yeah, so this is all through the Attendee Hub app, so there's no excuse. All of you have started using it. So let's go ahead and navigate to that poll. And you'll see in just a minute, we're going to go through and ask kind of a quick question. So we'll see in just a minute, but the polling question should pop up. And we are going to go through and ask, how much of the world's population do you think experiences a significant disability? So go ahead and take out your phones. We'll give everyone just a minute. All right, we got some results. And so Stephen, do you want to talk a little bit more about the results?
Yeah, you guys are pretty close. It's between 1 in 5 and 1 in 6. Not too bad. So, it's 1 in 6. According to the Centers for Disease Control, these are United States numbers, nearly 1 in 6 of those attendees that will have essentially working age adults will have some form of a disability. It's about 1.3 billion people globally. The numbers are pretty staggering. Do you know if your attendees have disabilities? Do we know? Do we track those? Do we make our environment welcoming so those people will come to our events? Something to think about. Did they not come because they didn't want to come? Because they didn't think that your event would be exciting enough, that they had no interest? Or was it, did we not enable them? And there are standards. I like to show this slide. A lot of people think accessibility is a moving target, or it's just kind of that thing that we don't really know how to do it. There are standards called WCAG, or Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Right now, they're on version 2.2. At Cvent, we follow 2.2 AA. I like to mention this again because a lot of people just don't know where to begin. They are technical standards. They say things like, I'll talk about in a little bit, and Ron will give some demos, things like non-text content. For example, an image has to have alt text, so we have to enable you to do that. That doesn't just cover web, though. It can cover the PowerPoint presentation that we're showing, things like that. It's a technical standard that says you have to do certain things. And we'll mention a lot of those things are not covered by, that can't be changed by the planner, or things that the planner can't do. It's relying on the software itself. So like Cvent products, probably 90% of the WCAG guidelines are on us. The other 10% are on the planner. And we'll show you some cool things. Just quick show of hands, assistive technology. Has anybody heard assistive technology, heard of it, heard a screen reader, come by the booth maybe, seen the JAWS screen reader or Braille display? So for those of you who don't know, assistive technology, or they call it AT, it's a form of a device. It could be equipment, it could be software that enables, I always want to say attendee, enables a person with a disability to utilize a product. So it could be a screen reader that I'm unable to see your screen. So I use a screen reader that I'll demo here in a little bit that reads out so I can read it in my ears. It may be that I can't see or hear and I have to use a refreshable Braille display. Assistive technologies enables our attendees to come to our site to register to pick their events, to work with the mobile app, those kind of things. So let's do a demo of JAWS. So I have a quick, interesting story here. We were gonna show with this a really bad registration site. And then we were gonna have Ron fix it and show you the good site. I was gonna say the problem, but it's not the problem, it's a good thing. Our software wouldn't allow us to make a bad site. So we tried to show, like, let's hack it and not show keyboard focus. Let's hack it and not make this work. And it worked. So I had to pick a site that I found. It's a demo site, that it's not mine. But again, that's a good thing that it's not mine because it actually works. So here's that site. Okay, and just to let you guys know, this is live. I'm reading off a script, I don't have speaker notes, and I'm using technology that's not mine. You planners know that we'll never have problems, right? So if the JAWS screen reader works or I have to go off script, you know how your events are. Everything always works perfectly. All right. So here we are on this site. You guys can see my screen? Perfect. So this is this accessible university site that's really not mine. If you notice up here on the left, it has before and after. I'm gonna click on the before part, okay? So this is a site that has some pretty clear accessibility issues. I'm just gonna start, I'm gonna cheat for a second and put my mouse. So now my cursor's up at the top of the page. So I'm a user with a disability. I have a physical disability that prevents me from using a mouse. I have to use a keyboard. I might have limited control of my hand, so I have to use one key at a time. I might not be able to use either hand, and I have to use what's called a mouth stick, which is literally a stick that I put in my mouth, and I have to do one key at a time. I might use voice input, I might something like that, but I can't use this mouse, so I have to use the keyboard. So everything is tabbing, enter key, space bar. Okay, so I'm on this page. Let's hit the tab button. Oops. Let's hit tab. Notice I can't see where I am. I'm gonna hit tab again. Nothing. I'm gonna hit tab again. Nothing. I'm gonna hit tab again. Okay, finally. Hopefully you can see that on the home. There's a box around it. There are 3 controls at the top of the page that I have no idea where I was. So now as a sighted user, I would have to guess. I'm gonna guess it's the big logo at the top and maybe the before and after links, but focus doesn't show. As I go throughout this page, you notice down here in the main content area of the page, focus just disappears. There's no focus there. This is one of those things that I couldn't show you through our products because it wouldn't let me hack it. I'm gonna go up to the top real quick. Remember that about link or button? I don't know what it is yet. I'm gonna use my mouse and I can hover over that and see it shows focus. And I can go down and click it with the mouse if I want. But when I use my, let me click away. When I use my keyboard, ooh, I'm gonna hit enter, nothing. I'm hit down arrow, nothing. Space bar maybe? That just scrolls. So this control is a JavaScript mouse-only control that I cannot use unless I can physically grab a mouse and hover it and click it. So now all of our users, or a significant number of our users with disabilities, and pretty much all assistive technology users cannot use this control. That's a bad thing. That's another thing I couldn't show through our products. Okay. Over here on the right, you notice, and this is not very common, it says required fields are in blue. See that? I'm gonna show you something that's a little more common. I've seen this before. It says, this is a different site, demo site. Oh, it's already on. I don't want to give you a spoiler alert. See where it says here, which is your favorite park? I'm going to click submit, okay? I don't know if it's a required field. That's, first of all, that's a problem. I'm going to hit submit. Watch what happens. See how those go to red? So this is a problem if users are colorblind or color vision deficient, or for our assistive technology users, they don't know that it's red. They don't know that's an error there. I'll do a demo in a second to show it, but why that's bad is I'm going to do this little toolbar that simulates somebody who's color vision deficient. They can't tell that that's red. They have no idea. So I've seen this a lot where I go to a page and I click submit, and if I forget a field, it has a little red box around it. I won't know the difference between the red and the black if I'm colorblind. That's a bad thing. Okay, is everybody ready to hear JAWS? Okay. When it starts talking, I'm going to stop it. So JAWS is going to say a lot of things that I'm going to hit control to make it stop. It's going to talk about regions of the page and how many links there are. I don't want to go too deep in the woods, so I'm going to hit control, and I just want to show you a couple kind of the bigger things, okay? I'm going to do control home to make sure I'm at the top of this page.
Top of 5.
Okay, and I hit control to stop it, okay? Now I don't want it to keep reading because it would tell me how many links, how many buttons. Let's say images, okay? I want to see what the images are this page. To do that in JAWS, I hit a certain key and it'll go to the first image.
G.
Shouldn't have done that. Remember live.
Escape. G.
Oh my gosh, I know why.
G.
I hate you,
Escape.
JAWS.
Escape. Before that, about link. Escape. Images /8,675,309 before underline brass underline band link graphic.
Okay, what JAWS did is said, I'm on an image. There's no, for you planners out there, you know when you go in and create your site, and Ron will demo this, you have to add alt text. You didn't add alt text. So what JAWS says is, I don't know what to say for this. I'm going to read the file name. Images / whatever before brass band. That's not the best experience for a user with disability. This is why you have to add alt text. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit tab and go to a field.
Fictional link.
Oops.
Help.
I'm going to hit tab a couple times, sorry.
New year, name, edit, type in text.
Name, edit, type in text. Well, first of all, I don't like it saying colon. We'll talk about that in a second, but all it says is name. I don't know this is a required field. So I have no way of knowing that I have to enter my name. So when I go down to the bottom of the page and click submit, I wouldn't know that there's actually an error. Let's go quick to the good page. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Can I just jump straight to a registration page that's good? Let's go to a registration page.
Session times out. Session times. Cvent Connect.
I'm going to show you guys how this should be done.
Loading. Home Cvent Connect main region. Register now
Sorry, I keep hitting control to tell JAWS to be quiet.
Page has no links. Personal information.
All right. This is how it should be done. Okay. Now I'm going to Cvent Connect page. I'm going to hit insert home. Control home.
Personal info.
Okay, and I'm going to hit tab.
Banner region, navigation region, skip the main content, same page link visited.
Okay, it says things about banner region and navigation region. That's letting me know kind of where I am on the page. I'm at the top, I'm in a bunch of navigation links, but it says skip to main content. This is on every one of your registration sites right now. We add it automatically. You don't know it probably, unless you've ever used the keyboard. We do that automatically, so users, instead of having, remember when I tabbed earlier? You have to tab through all those controls. I can activate that.
Enter, visited same page link, skip the main personal.
I keep hitting control because it's gonna freak you out saying so much. But what it did is said the name of the link, and then it set focus to the main heading of the page. So now instead of having to tab through the whole page when I hit tab,
first name edit required, type in text.
I go to the first field. So, and this is already added to all of your pages. Did you hear that it said first name edit required? Notice it didn't say asterisk or star is how JAWS reads it. We marked that as decorative. And instead of saying star first name, which it did, I think on the demo, it didn't say anything. Did you hear first name edit required? Did you guys catch that? That's an attribute we add to all of your required fields automatically. You don't have to do anything as a planner to let the screen reader know this is a required field. Let me show one other cool thing. Did you guys catch that when it said first name edit required? When I tab and I go to the last name field, I'm going to show you two more things. Watch what happens to the first name field. Since it's required, an error is going to appear under it, okay? Visibly, I can see it. I'm lucky my eyes work. Listen to what happens with the screen reader.
Alert, first name is required. Last name edit required. Type in text.
So as a sighted user, I can see, well, hit the brakes. I forgot first name. And it said, so I can see that. My eyes work. I can see that red error message. Okay, I messed up. And notice, by the way, we don't just use red. So if we did just the box, that would be bad. We say first name is required. It can still be in red. It can't just be in, it couldn't just say like, it couldn't just be a red box around it, for example. But if you notice when I went to that second field, there's a thing called a live region that we added. All of your sites have it right now. You don't have to add it. It's not some add-in. We let the users know, just like we let users who were sighted know, users who were non-sighted, let them know that the field you were just in, you made a mistake, you forgot to add your first name. So I can go, by going Shift-Tab.
Alert, last name, S-T-E-P-A-E-N.
And add my first name. Okay, so now let's pretend I go fill out all these fields and I forget something, okay? And I go to the bottom and click Submit. I'm gonna tab very quickly because I don't want you to have to hear all these fields.
Alert. Alert list with one next button to activate, press enter.
Okay, next button to activate, press enter. Now there's a bunch of fields with errors. First name is right, all the rest of them are wrong. I'm gonna hit enter.
Enter, last name edit required, invalid entry. Last name is required, type in text.
Last name is required, invalid entry. Last name is required. So did you notice what happened? When I click that button, I set focus to the first field that has an error. We do this automatically. It's in all your registration sites right now. What we would not want to do, if we didn't do anything, focus would stay on the button. And what some sites do is set focus back to the top. The bad thing is, though, I would have to tab 25 times to try to find the errors. We set focus to the first field with an error. So if you fill in last name and forget email address and click submit, we set focus to the submit button. Pretty cool? You guys like it? And with that, I know you're going to be happy. I'm going to turn off JAWS.
Unloading JAWS with enter.
And show you one more slide and hand it. I will say, if you guys have any more questions about screen errors, I can talk about this stuff all day. I can do all kinds of demos. Come by the accessibility booth. Happy to help you. And I got one more slide. I hope you guys like this. So cvent.com/bigbook. We worked with, internally we have an accessibility guild. There's, I think, 15 or 20 of us in it now. We were working on this book to help planners out, to help you guys out. Marketing got wind of it and said, hey, wait a minute, we can write way better than you guys, so we're gonna help you create this. We have a thing, right now it goes up from like return on investment, how to talk to leadership, questions to ask in registration, it goes up to the event itself. cvent.com/bigbook. It's a free resource. It's a living document. Any of you planners out there have cool stories, please let us know. I will put it in the big book. I'll give your organization credit and said they did this cool thing at this conference that, trust me, other planners want to hear about it. Please download it. It's free. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a living document. Over the next quite a few months, we're going to update it at least 2 more times. So we're going to cover like the stuff that Ron is going to talk about next, how to add alt text, how to do headings and all that. So right now it doesn't cover that yet, but we'll get there. But yeah, Ron, off to you.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you, Stephen, for going through and giving kind of a crash course on accessibility, disability, and an amazing JAWS demonstration. Now, I want to go through and talk about how you're going to be able to go through and implement some of these amazing features in your events within Cvent today. One thing that we want to go through and highlight, and hopefully as a goal of this session, is that Cvent empowers planners such as you to easily create these sites without having to do a lot of that heavy lifting. So as Stephen mentioned earlier, the reason why we couldn't show some of these errors on a Cvent site is because our site proactively eliminates a lot of these roadblocks for you. Now, a couple of things that we're super proud of here at Cvent. One of the first things is our public-facing accessibility statement. We want you to know that this is not something that we're just putting on for show, but it is something that we're heavily invested in and that we believe in and we implement in our own technology in our organization. VPATs. These are voluntary product accessibility templates, which really kind of outlines just an overall overview of a technology or solution and as it relates to accessibility standards. This isn't something that we're hiding in our CEO Reggie's office. You have readily available access to these. So anytime you're on the phone with your Cvent account team and you want to be able to just take a peek at them, we'll send them over to you, no hands bar. Moving on, we also have members of our dedicated product team. Obviously, I'm here joined by Stephen, but he is in charge of an entire army that is using the product every single day and making sure accessibility is in the forefront for our customers. And then also just numerous awards and case studies. I know something that Stephen is super proud of is just through our work with the National Federation of the Blind. You know, to really kind of paraphrase it, they said Cvent was the only choice of a solution and software to be able to go through and work with to empower that of their events. And we were super honored to be able to go through and get that feedback and continue to work with them and other organizations. So we just want to let you know, again, these are things that are near and dear to our heart. Now, I'm going to go through and dive in a little bit more into some of the individual features that you'll have access to within Cvent itself. So, auto-generated captions. Fun fact, as a kid, I would annoy the heck out of my parents because I would always want captions on the TV because I just love to read. But obviously they serve a very important aspect to those individuals who may have some form of disability. So with auto-generated captions, these are things that can actually be generated by Cvent. So no more do you have to go through and use a third party. These captions can then be used in our various solutions, such as the Cvent Attendee Hub, which for those of you who are in person, you can actually go through and have captions be available to you. But most importantly, when you're watching it on demand, being able to have that content readily available back to you. And then, of course, with Cvent Events Plus and our webinar solution, this ensures that your attendees who may have some also language barriers can also go through and engage in that content and increasing your registration reaches as well with your customers. Audio descriptions. Now, I thought this one, when I first heard about it, was like kind of mind-blowing, and it took me a while to kind of understand it, to really be able to appreciate them. But when we start talking about audio descriptions, this really provides almost kind of a written transcript in an audio format, obviously, of what is going on throughout the presentation. So you can kind of see here, this is a little bit of a screenshot, and I don't know if any of you are like Marvel nerds like myself, but this is Matt Murdock. He's Daredevil, and one of the great things is that he swings through the city of New York and he saves crime and saves people. Well, the great thing is you all can be your own superheroes to your attendees by using these audio descriptions. This is something that is not generated directly by Cvent. However, you could work with various vendors and solutions to be able to go through and access this. And these descriptions can then be provided directly to the audience members through the various solutions that you're seeing here on the screen. What I'm going to do is not just sit there and provide you with an overview, but I'm actually going to go through and pull up an example of an audio description. So I'm actually going to go through, pull up my screen, and if we can get that pulled up, hopefully everyone should be able to go through. See, this is an example of what we call the video library. So this is where you're managing all of your videos in Cvent. And as you're going through and adding things such as your captions and subtitles, those can easily be generated and added throughout the solution. So you can easily see here my captions. But most importantly, I want to go through and show you specifically for the audio descriptions. You can see here in this example, this is a video that is being played, but there's not any audio just yet. However, the attendees will be able to go through, click on where it says English description or the language of your choice. And as the audio and the description begins to play, you can see what it's saying.
Easily achieve a branded look. Pre-plan each segment of the show. Transition between scenes with just a click. A mouse.
So I won't go through and obviously play all 58 minutes of that video because we would be here all day and we would not be able to make the amazing party later. But you can get a kind of general sense of how impactful these things can be for your attendees and ways that you can ensure that every attendee is having that optimal experience. What I'm going to do is go back to my presentation, so hopefully that is showing on the screen. There we go. Oh, let's go back. Got a little trigger happy. I want to jump into the site designer. So for most of you, if not all of you, you're going through, you're building and managing your events within Cvent, and that site designer plays a very important aspect in making sure your branding, the look and feel, your message of the event is getting across. Stephen walked through that JAWS and assistive technology demonstration, and there are so many aspects that Stephen's going to do on your behalf. However, we also will go through and give you the ability of adding things like alt text and controlling your headings. Stephen was so implemental in helping me kind of understand the importance of technology as it relates to just accessibility and alt text. How many, just a raise of hand, when you're in this Cvent backend designer, see alt text, but you have no idea what it means? And I will be, there we go, we got a couple. Thank you for being honest. I was guilty of this. I've been at Cvent for close to 10 years, and I was just like, oh, well, I don't need to know it, so I'm not gonna worry about it. But alt text plays a very important aspect in your site designer. This is where you can go through and add the description of the intent of the image. You're not going through and describing, saying, great, this is Stephen, he has a blue shirt on, he has glasses. That information, unfortunately, may not be as helpful to someone who maybe has not seen anything or can actually visualize the color blue. But if you're saying, great, maybe there are two nice looking guys on stage going through and giving you an amazing presentation, hopefully that helps paint a little bit of a better picture. So again, we empower our customers and you all to be able to go through and effectively add that alt text to meet the need of your images. Headings, also super important. When we started talking through things like keyboard navigation, Stephen was able to go through and see, great, yeah, I'm able to go through and see this is maybe a paragraph heading, maybe an individual subheading. Those things and more can easily be dictated in the site designer, ensuring that those attendees who are navigating through the keyboard also are able to go through and quickly get registered, but also not get discombobulated during that experience as well. Now for the Attendee Hub designer, everyone today is using the Attendee Hub because that's what's powering Cvent Connect. But when we specifically start talking about what the Attendee Hub is also going to be able to go through and offer, one of my favorite things, and you'll see at the very top, it's actually going to be a little bit of an error message. This is a part of our proactive accessibility guidelines. Thinking about colors, my little brother, he actually is colorblind, so he cannot see certain colors and things that kind of maybe impact him a little bit. So it was kind of near and dear to my heart. Instead of me having to go through and kind of wonder, well, is this site maybe not going to be something that he or other individuals will be able to interact with? Cvent, we're providing that to you in the very beginning. So if there are color contrasts that are maybe not meeting those guidelines, we're going to proactively go through and call those out. But something that you can also take advantage of is what we call our safe color mode. This is an opportunity for Cvent to say, great, we want to go through and put you in a safe sandbox, still allow for you to be able to brand and customize it, but you don't have to worry about getting that error message. And then in addition to that, you also have the opportunity of going through and using alt text and even identifying if there are images that are going to be used for decorative purposes. This and more are just going to be some of the many things that we're using in the tool to make sure that you are following those very important accessibility guidelines. Stephen already talked about screen readers, so this is an example of that assistive technology and how they can be leveraged. While these are not going to be native functionality of Cvent, you can see how Cvent plays well with these other technologies, and these can be used across any attendee-facing sites. So obviously, Stephen walked through today an example of the event website and registration, but if you're using things such as our Speaker Resource Center, using abstract management, just to name a few, those tools will be able to go through and also interact with these screen readers as well. Keyboard navigation. So Stephen already kind of went through and showed a little bit more about the keyboard navigation experience, but it was something that I proactively bring up on some of my customer calls, just because it is something that is, in my mind, very impactful for those individuals who are only able to navigate through keyboard. This is something that can also be used on any attendee-facing site, via the desktop experience. And some of those things that Stephen pointed out earlier, the ability to have things highlighted based off of what you're interacting with, or the ability to even skip to the main content. Maybe I just want to go through, quickly get registered, while there is other components such as maybe pictures or maybe even just elements such as description that I can go through and view. My job is quickly go through and get registered so we don't have to have them go through every single aspect of that solution. And then kind of going back, excuse me, there we go, for a bit, we're gonna go through and kind of bring this to life. So what I'm actually gonna go through and do is pull up an example of the Cvent Planner backend user interface and show a couple of things, such as, like, we already touched on the video library and captions, but I wanna talk about if you wanted to go through and add things like your own alt text, being able to go through and see those different colors and backgrounds, what that looks like. So pulling back up my screen, everyone should be able to go through and see it. I'm gonna go into an event that our team is building and manage within Cvent. And as mentioned, this is not something that is gonna take a large amount of work, but we do wanna make sure that you're aware of the value that it can provide and the ease of use. So by going into the site designer, you could see here within a couple of seconds, I'm gonna go and navigate to an image. So I'm gonna give my computer some time to catch up to me. You can see as I'm going through, I'm gonna be able to actually just see an image. So I can go through and I wanna do this phone. Well, you can see once I've gone through and I've added this image directly from my media library, as I'm going through and scrolling down, you can see we didn't add alt text. That's a problem. We wanna make sure that we're doing those things. So if I wanted to go through and add alt text, I could easily go through and say mobile phone, and it helps if I can type correctly, so apologies. Mobile phone displaying event title. Simple and easy. Remember, that alt text is there so that way you're displaying and describing the intent of the image. I'm not saying, great, this is a white device with a blue background. That means nothing to that individual. We want to make sure that we're providing the correct intent of it. When we talk about things like headings as an example, these are ways that you're able to go through and dictate how the site will be able to interact directly with that screen reader. So you can see that you have paragraph headings, you also have subheadings as well. And these are just all things that sometimes customers don't know what they don't know. Now we're hopefully empowering all of you to be able to go through and take advantage of these features to be able to go through and utilize. I'm gonna quickly go into the Attendee Hub and show you a little bit of what that design aspect looks like. Again, not foreign by any means, but as you see, I'm gonna go through, scroll down. By clicking into the Attendee Hub solution, you'll see in just a minute some of the things that I was kind of referencing. So you'll see when I go through and navigate to the theme and display option, which, give it just a minute, I know the internet is kind of catching up with me. But as I'm going through and displaying, we're gonna reference that image that I showed earlier, being able to easily go through and see some of the proactive callouts, but also the ability of adding. So you can see when I come to my theme section, this event, it doesn't meet your accessibility guidelines. Having that callout is something that's really important. However, if I wanted to ensure that I don't run into that issue again, I'm able to go through and scroll down and look at some of the advanced settings and take advantage of using things such as our safe color mode as a way to be able to go through and bypass that in the very near future. Even with going through and adding my website images, that alt text plays a very important role, but you see, great, it's not showing by default. That is because I've said, great, this image is gonna be used for decorative purposes, more of like, this amazing green shirt that I have, it's more for decoration, but also necessity as well. But when I go through and click on the no option, this allows for me to be able to go through and add that alt text. So again, you can see the consistency across the platform that we're allowing to be able to go through and easily add those things. What we're now gonna go through and do is, I know it's been a lot of information that Stephen and I have been able to go through and provide to you. So we, again, want to go through and just highlight just the ease of use. This is something that is available to every single event registration customer and the importance of it. We understand that accessibility is on the top of everyone's fingertips today, and we want to let you know that Cvent allows for planners such as you to be empowered to easily go through and do these things as well. Now, one of the cool things, and sure some of you walked in, you kind of noticed that there's actually a little bit of a cue card that allowed for you to be able to say, great, you want to go through and maybe have captions or subtitles or translation as an example, how that can be implemented so you can see how we're implementing it even here at Cvent Technology. But if you're also wondering what are some of the other elements that we're utilizing today at Cvent Connect, in the Attendee Hub app, we actually have a dedicated page for accessibility. This is where we have information not only on our captions, translations, but also ASL interpretation as an example. And if you're interested in learning more about it, as Stephen mentioned, come to the Innovation Pavilion, talk to one of us. We're more than happy to talk to you all day until your ears fall off as an example as well. Now, what we're gonna go through and do is maybe go through and open up for some Q&A, because I think Stephen and I got to talked enough. But what we'll do is kind of move forward. So let's go through and see what questions we have on the live display. I think we're waiting for our question. Okay, great. So our question from Cinda, do you have a best practice example of how to ask attendees for disability preferences and registration? Stephen, I'll let you maybe start with that one, and then I can add on that.
Thank you. I love this. And I'm going to do a shameless plug for the big book, cvent.com/big book. We talk about this. I'll talk about first what we don't want to do is just have, I think everyone here is US ADA or Americans with Disabilities Act. What we don't want to do is have a yes or no of ADA, yes or no. Because my ADA might be I'm blind. My ADA might be I have a physical disability, I'm in a wheelchair. My ADA accommodation might be that I'm deaf. I could go on. The minimum people tend to do is have a yes, no checkbox, and then they have a text box that say, let us know your accommodations. But I could be a user who is deaf and blind and in a wheelchair and accompanied by a service animal and a personal care assistant. That's an awful lot to put into a checkbox. So what are they gonna do? They're not gonna come to your event. So the best thing to do, and it's two different ways, is either ask detailed questions. Now I can't go, are you deaf? Are you blind? But I can say, do you require a sign language interpreter? Do you require captions? Will you be accompanied by a personal care assistant? Do you use a mobility device? And then I know how to accommodate them. Maybe you can contact them later. Or, and I saw this, it was a university did this, and I thought it was brilliant. They said, do you require accommodations, yes or no? And if so, we'll contact you within 3 weeks to clarify your needs. And I think that's beautiful because that's them saying, we don't know what to ask. Or maybe we're afraid to ask, but we're gonna get it right. And I love that they said we're gonna do it in 3 weeks. It's not just, we'll contact you. They let them know we're gonna contact you within 21 days. So I think that was a good one. So the best thing is either ask detailed questions about the accommodations themselves, sign language interpreter, captions, mobility device, or let them know we're gonna contact you and give them a time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've seen a lot of customers go through and use our registration questions as a part of the solution to be able to go through and ask those questions. But also, I've seen a lot of customers, take a leap forward, just like what we're doing here at Cvent Connect, having a dedicated page on the event website talking about the accessibility offerings at the event. And of course, whether it's through registration or even just a quick blurb on that page saying, if you have any additional questions about any accommodations that you may need or request at the event, I think that goes a long way as well. Our next question is from Presley asking, what tool do you use to test color blindness? Stephen,
so this one,
he's in product, I'll let him answer that question.
It's called Web Disability Simulator. It's a Chrome plugin. So it has a lot of things. It can show sight, mobility, read or write. Oh, they're showing it perfect. So like, it's not, I can go into, so let's say you have tunnel vision. It'll simulate a page as if you have tunnel vision. It's kind of neat. I wouldn't say we really use it to test it, but we use it to kind of explain to people who may have not as much of an understanding about something. There are a lot of sites out there. I don't have it open. There's one that's brilliant about dyslexia, but it shows the letters that change. But it's a Chrome plugin. If you Google Web Disability Simulator, it'll come up.
Great. Well, I know that we have about kind of 5 minutes left. Let's see. Oh, we got another question. Are there any legal requirements around accessibility in the US or abroad? Stephen, you want to go ahead and maybe take a stab at that one?
I could give a 4-hour class on legal. So thank you, whoever asked this. Excuse me. So when I first started accessibility 22 years ago, I was in a federal contractor. There's a federal law called Section 508. It's a procurement law that says you, federal agency, or agency that receives, like university that receives federal funds, cannot spend money on products, software products, unless they're accessible to certain guidelines. At the time, Section 508 had their own. Now it's been updated. Federal aligns with, I mentioned those WCAG or Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. WCAG aligns with a slightly older 2.1. But now in the US, they just updated recently ADA, or Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA Title II, that applies to state and local government. So now all federal, state, or local government entities, agencies, or like higher ed, anybody, show of hands, quick higher ed. Higher ed, you probably already know this. Now, oh my gosh, it's in about a week and a half. By law, your digital content has to be accessible per ADA law. And I think they mentioned abroad.
Yeah.
Abroad, it goes into effect 1 year from now. The European Accessibility Act in June 2025 becomes law. European Union, all member states, by law, 1 year from now, all electronic content must be accessible per WCAG 2.1, probably going to be 2.1 AA. So that's if all consumer-facing products, so if you do business, like you create a site and you're going to do an event in Britain's not, in Italy, I think European Union, right?
Yeah.
I'm terrible at geography. If you're going to do a business for your attendees could be going to Italy, or they're Italians using your site, by law 1 year from now, you have to meet WCAG 2.1 AA guidelines. And it's just a matter of time before it comes to the US.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. We have another question from Braley stating, I noticed this session had an ASL interpreter, but other sessions this week did not. How do event planners know which sessions to hire interpreters for, especially for those larger conferences that are over 300 sessions? I think something that could be really helpful would be to implement some of the feedback that Stephen and I mentioned earlier, asking those registration questions, but even something for a large scale like Cvent Connect. One thing I would really recommend is even getting in touch with our meeting and planning team and really kind of identifying ways that they were able to go through and kind of implement this on a larger scale. As kind of called out in the question, not every single session may have a need for an interpreter, but there are going to be some individual sessions that may, so asking that information readily available. I think one of the things I really enjoyed with Stephen's question in the example he provided was, great, we're going to call you and maybe reach out to you in 3 weeks or so to get a better sense, because you've identified, great, you are going to need some type of accommodations, and then from there providing that personalized experience, saying, well, now that I know that you're going to be going to these individual sessions, those things can kind of help you prepare in the planning phases. Are there plans to incorporate AI and accessibility, like AI writing alt text automatically? Well, Stephen, I'll let you go through and talk about it, but before that, I know AI is at the, on the top of everyone's brain as well. I think one of the things that I know our product team is ensuring that we're balancing is using AI ethically and making sure that we're using it appropriately. There are plans to go through and add it in the tool itself for things such as writing like session descriptions, or even going through and helping creating session titles and some of those other elements. But Stephen, regarding like alt text, is that something that you've heard of, or what are your thoughts on that?
We actually did tests. We ran for a lot of tests, and the problem with AI-generated alt text is it's a literal description of the image. So the big thing with alt text for an image is the intent. So it could be, my favorite thing is it's a picture of a flower. So if you're on an allergy site, I want the alt text to be, ragweed has 500,000 pollen grains per season, right? But if it's just for looks, if it's just pretty, I would just mark it as null. AI says it's an image of a yellow flower, or it's ragweed. It doesn't give the intent of it. So we actually tried this, ran a bunch of images through a lot. It just didn't work very well. It was literal descriptions tend not to work very well for alt text. It really is the intent. So maybe AI will get better, but for now, just not quite there yet.
Yeah. But of course, if you continue to have that feedback, let us know. We can see how we're able to go through and use it appropriately. We have another question from Kate. What is the program you use to show what websites look different for different users when you showed how it looked for color blindness?
Yeah, that was that one, what did I say, Web Disability Simulator. Oh, let me hit reset and get the, it's a Chrome plugin called Web Disability Simulator. It's pretty cool. Get that, play around.
Great. Next question that we have, let's see what we have here. It's being a little slow. I think we're at the end of, oh, let's make sure, sorry. Our moderators are playing games with us. All right. I think that is actually, well, no, one more. Can this be added to just surveys versus registration form? I guess, Jen, and we can definitely talk about this maybe offline. What exactly are you looking to be able to go through and have added? If you're going through and using any of the elements, such as like images as an example, those images would allow you to be able to go through and add things like alt text as well. But if there's specific questions that you have about what parts of the technology can be used specifically for surveys, we can definitely kind of chat offline. We'll be in the back of the room or even come over to the Innovation Pavilion to talk a little bit more about that. Let's make sure our clicker is working. All right, well, I think we are at time. We want to thank you all for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. We hope, Wednesday morning, I was thinking ahead. We thank you all again and hope that we see you all at the farewell party going away tonight. Thank you so much for joining.
Guided by a beating heart, I can't tell where the journey will end, but I know where to start. They tell me I'm too young to understand. They say I'm caught up in a dream. Well, life will pass me by if I